The Galactic Council chamber floated above the icy world of Virelian Prime, a shining ring of glass and steel orbiting high over frozen mountains. Inside, rows of alien leaders filled their curved seats, faces cold and expressionless. The chamber lights were dim, the air thick with quiet tension. For centuries, this place had been the heart of galactic power, a place where laws were made, wars were decided, and worlds were judged. But never before had a human been invited here, and yet today, in the center of that vast circular hall, a tall blue hologram shimmered to life. It was the image of a man, straight-backed, gray-haired, wearing a dark military uniform lined with silver. His name was General Marcus Kane, Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Force. Behind his calm eyes, the fury of a wounded world burned. The council members whispered in dozens of alien tongues. Some had 4 eyes, some had scales, others hid behind glowing masks. They had heard of this man, the Iron General of Earth, but they had never seen him so close. The Grand Speaker of the Council, a pale creature with long fingers and cold golden eyes, spoke first. "General Kane," it hissed softly, "we are here to discuss peace. Humanity has caused great unrest. You destroyed 3 of our fleets." Kane raised his hand. The alien stopped speaking. There was a pause, long and heavy. The hologram flickered slightly, but the general's voice came through strong and steady. "You attacked our home." The words echoed through the chamber. Every being fell silent. The translation systems repeated his words in every tongue of the galaxy, vibrating through the walls. "You attacked our home." Kane repeated, his eyes locking on each alien delegate. "You came to our skies. You burned our cities. You called it law enforcement. You said we were a danger to the galaxy. But now—" He leaned forward. "You see who the danger truly is," murmurs broke out. The speaker tried to regain control. "General Kane, the Council acted under the laws of galactic peace. Earth built weapons beyond allowed capacity. Kane's voice cut through like steel. "You call it peace when you attack the weak. You call it law when it's only fear." Behind him, holographic images flared, burning cities, falling ships, black smoke over oceans. Earth under attack, millions dead. But then, the images changed. Human ships rising from the clouds, laser fire cutting through alien cruisers, a single fleet standing against an empire. Gasps filled the hall. The council members saw it, the truth they had tried to bury. Humanity had survived. Humanity had fought back. Kane's expression did not change. "When your fleets came," he said, "we had no allies, no colonies, no voice in your council. You thought it would be easy." He paused, letting the silence stretch. "But Earth is not easy to kill." The room grew colder. Even the alien guards at the door shifted uneasily. From the far end of the hall, another voice spoke, a soft, trembling tone from a small insectoid delegate. "General, what do you want from us?" Kane looked at the council. "I want you to remember what you did. You came to our world and called it a lesson. You destroyed our satellites, our stations, our homes. You wanted to make us kneel." He stepped forward, his holographic eyes burning like fire. "But we learned faster than you imagined. We built ships from your wrecks. We learned your codes. And now—" A holographic display lit up behind him, dozens of red dots surrounding the Council's own world. Human ships, massive, silent, waiting in orbit. "Now it's you who kneel." Panic rippled through the alien seats. Some shouted into their comms, others froze. The Grand Speaker stood furious. "This is a threat to the Council. Humanity will face—" Kane interrupted again, calm but firm. "Humanity doesn't threaten. Humanity remembers." He lowered his gaze slightly, and for a moment his voice softened. "We didn't want this war. We wanted peace. But you came to our home and left us with ashes. So we did what humans always do. We rebuilt. We endured. And we came back." No one dared speak. The only sound was the quiet hum of the hologram. Outside the glass walls of the chamber, through the mist and starlight, faint shapes moved, giant shadows among the clouds. Human ships, sleek and dark, hovered near the Council's defense line. Kane looked up, as if he could see them from light years away. "We do not come as conquerors," he said. We come as survivors. And survivors don't forget who started the fire. The hologram flickered once more. Kane's image faded into static, then returned for a final moment. His last words were almost a whisper, but they carried through every corner of the chamber. "You attacked our home. Now you will answer for it." Then the transmission ended. The chamber stayed silent for a long time. The alien delegates didn't move, didn't speak. They could still see the human ships outside, a quiet army of vengeance waiting in the dark. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled across Virelian's frozen mountains, echoing through the glass. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council felt fear because humanity had finally spoken, and the galaxy would never be the same again, before the hologram of General Kane ever appeared in the council chamber. Before the galaxy trembled at the words, "You attacked our home." There was fire. It began with a message, short, cold, and final. By order of the Galactic Council, Earth is declared a restricted world. All advanced weapon development is forbidden. Non-compliance will result in enforcement action. At first, no one on Earth believed it was real. The message came through deep space relays, sent by unknown signals. News networks called it a hoax. But within hours, the skies over the Pacific lit up with streaks of fire. The Council had arrived. 3 massive alien dreadnoughts descended through the clouds, each one larger than any human ship ever built. They hovered over the oceans, their hulls shining silver under the sun. People stared from the beaches, recording with shaky hands, thinking it was first contact, not invasion. Then, without warning, the first strike hit. A beam of white light burned through the sky and vaporized a naval base in seconds. Waves of heat followed, melting steel and glass. Panic spread across continents. Satellites went dark. Every network went silent. In orbit, Earth's defense satellites fired back, but their missiles vanished against invisible shields. The alien fleet didn't answer hails, didn't give warnings. They came with purpose, to destroy what humanity had built. By nightfall, cities across the world were burning. Tokyo, New York, Moscow, Lagos, Sydney. Billions watched as alien carriers released smaller drones, black spheres that moved like wasps. Scanning, bombing, silencing. The Galactic Council called it Operation Balance. They said Earth had violated the rules by developing faster-than-light drives. But that was a lie. In truth, they feared what humanity might become. For years, Council observers had watched Earth grow stronger. They saw the wars end, the nations unite, the weapons evolve. They saw what humans were capable of when cornered, and they were afraid. So they came early, to stop us before we reached the stars. In the chaos, the leaders of Earth met underground. Hidden in a secure bunker beneath the Arctic ice, the United Earth Defense Command activated Protocol Erebus. It was a last resort plan, written long ago for a war no one wanted to believe could happen. General Marcus Kane was among the few who knew about it. He stood before a flickering holographic map, watching red dots blink over every continent, alien strikes spreading like disease. "Are the deep stations online?" he asked quietly. A young officer nodded. "Erebus stations 1 through 5 are operational, sir. 6 and 7 are still buried." Kane turned to the screens, showing Earth's orbit. The alien fleet was moving toward the moon now, securing the skies. "We don't have time," he said. "Initiate the Black Code. We go underground, all of us." That night, the surface of the world fell silent. The cities died. But humanity didn't. Beneath the frozen deserts, beneath the oceans, beneath the mountains, hidden vaults came alive. Engines roared in deep tunnels. Massive hangars opened under the ice. For years, Earth had been secretly preparing, not for war, but for survival. And now, survival was the war. 2 weeks later, the Council declared Earth pacified. They sent drones to collect data from the ruins to confirm the victory. But their drones never returned. Instead, they found something else. One of their battleships, the Valcour, picked up strange heat readings under the Antarctic. The readings moved, fast, Before the captain could react, the ocean exploded beneath him. Out of the water rose something massive, dark, angular, built from Earth's own steel. A human warship. No one had ever seen it before. It fired once. The Valkor was split in half, across the void. In Council command channels, confusion turned to panic. They had destroyed Earth's armies, its cities, its orbitals. How could humans still fight? But the truth was simple. Humanity had learned from them, from every alien wreck recovered during first contact. Every signal, every intercepted code, Earth had been studying, copying, improving. And now, their first experimental fleet, the Erebus Line, had launched. In a dark command room miles below the surface, General Kane stood before a row of holographic screens. Around him, officers from every former nation stood shoulder to shoulder. No flags, no borders. Just one planet, one people. Operation Reclaim begins now, he said. Target, their nearest colony, their supply route, their pride. The room fell silent, the weight of those words sinking in. This was no longer about defense. This was the first strike of humanity's counterattack. The fleet launched through hidden gates, powered by stolen alien technology. In seconds, human ships vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind the burning sky of their home. For the first time in history, Earth was fighting not for land, not for power, but for survival of the species. Days later, across the galaxy, a small alien colony world received a distress signal, brief, broken, filled with static. Unknown vessels. Approaching, not Council. Repeating, not Council. The signal cut off. When the Council's scouts arrived, they found the colony gone. Every building turned to glass, every weapon offline. And written across the command tower's ruins were words burned deep into the stone, in English. We remember who fired first. Back on Virelian Prime, in the Council chamber, the speaker slammed his fist on the table. This was not supposed to happen, he shouted. They were supposed to be extinct. But they weren't. Somewhere out there, in the dark between stars, the humans had survived, angry, silent, and watching. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy felt something it had forgotten. Fear, because the Council had woken a sleeping giant. And soon, that giant would come knocking. The galaxy thought the humans would hide. They thought Earth's survivors would cling to ashes, too broken to rise again. But humanity had never been good at dying quietly. General Marcus Kane stood in the command bridge of the Erebus Prime, the largest warship Earth had ever built. It was born in secret, under Antarctica's ice, crafted from alien scrap fused with human design. Its black hull reflected no light. Its engines purred with stolen power. Around Kane, dozens of other ships waited in formation, a fleet no one in the galaxy knew existed. Every vessel carried scars. They were made from the wrecks of fallen satellites, from repurposed mining rigs, from steel dragged out of drowned cities. They weren't polished like Council cruisers. They were sharp. They were ugly. But they were alive, and they were hungry. "Course locked," said Commander Alvarez, her voice steady though her hands shook on the console. "Target is Zyros 3, small colony. Supply hub for the Council fleets," Kane nodded slowly. His gaze was fixed on the stars ahead. "This is not about glory," he said quietly. His voice carried across the bridge. "This is survival. We strike so our children can live." No one spoke. They didn't need to. Every person aboard knew what was at stake. A low hum filled the ship. The wormhole drive engaged. In a flash of burning light, the Erebus Prime and its fleet vanished into the void. The Council world of Zyros 3 was peaceful that night. Its sky glowed with 3 moons. Families slept under domed cities. Soldiers patrolled lazily, confident in the power of their empire. Then the alarms screamed. Unknown signals tore open the night sky. Blue fire streaked across the horizon. The human fleet arrived. The first volley came from Earth's rail cannons, massive rounds of tungsten accelerated to impossible speed. They struck like meteors, tearing through shield arrays, punching holes through ships that had never faced such weapons. A Council destroyer tried to respond, but its systems flickered. Human code, copied from captured wrecks, had wormed into its circuits. The ship turned blind. Seconds later, it exploded. From the shadows of the moons, black-hulled Earth frigates dove like predators. Their engines burned silent, their weapons aimed with precision. They didn't fire at civilians. They didn't burn fields. They went straight for the Council's heart. Command posts, armories, orbital docks. The attack lasted less than an hour. When it ended, the once proud colony was dark. In the ruins of the Council's command tower, flames lit the sky. On its blackened walls, soldiers found a single mark burned deep by plasma fire. We remember who fired first. The word spread like a virus across the galaxy. On hidden channels, whispers grew. The humans are alive. The humans are fighting back. For centuries, the Council had ruled with fear. But now, fear had a new master. On the bridge of the Erebus Prime, silence reigned. The crew stared at the holographic map. Enemy fleets shattered, human ships intact. Kane finally spoke. "Transmission time," he said. A comms officer nodded. "Ready, sir?" Kane leaned forward. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with quiet fury. "Send this message across every open channel," he said. "Tell the galaxy humanity lives." The officer hesitated. "And what words, General?" Kane's reply was simple. "Tell them we don't forgive. Tell them we don't forget." The message pulsed out into the stars, carried on every captured frequency. Alien worlds far from Earth received it. Soldiers in distant sectors heard it, and across the Council's empire, people began to wonder if their leaders had made a mistake. 3 days later, the Council's fleets gathered at the Dorlath outpost, a fortress starport that supplied half the Empire's warships. But when they arrived, they found silence. The outpost was gone. Its weapons had been dismantled, its hangars empty, its command center burning. And hovering in the wreckage was a single black ship. The Erebus Prime Council ships rushed forward, but before they could fire, Kane's voice boomed across the void. "You burned our world. You hunted our people. Now we are the hunters." The human fleet emerged behind him, dozens of ships cloaked in the shadows. The Council fired first. But they didn't fire last. Within minutes, Dorlath was dust. Word spread faster than light. The humans are striking back. The Council fleets are falling. The children of Earth cannot be broken. Some alien commanders began to surrender before battles even started. Others deserted. For the first time in generations, the galaxy saw cracks in the Empire. Back on Earth, deep beneath the ice, Kane walked the halls of command. He passed engineers building more ships, scientists decoding alien systems, soldiers training with steel in their eyes. This wasn't the old Earth anymore. This was a world reborn in fire. Alvarez caught up with him, her uniform still stained with ash from the last battle. "Sir," she said, "how long can we keep this up? They have more fleets, more worlds, more power." Kane stopped, looking at her with a steady gaze. "They have more numbers," he said. "But they don't have what we have," she frowned. "And what's that?" Kane's voice was firm, his words heavy with conviction. "A home worth dying for." That night, as Earth's rebuilt fleet prepared for its next strike, the stars above seemed to burn brighter. The Council had thought humanity would fall in silence. Instead, humanity rose in fire, and this was only the beginning. The great hall of the Galactic Council was silent. Days ago, reports had poured in like floods, fleets lost, colonies burned, supply lines gone dark. And each time, carved into the ruins, they found the same words. "We remember who fired first." Those words haunted the chamber. They were not just a threat. They were a promise. The Grand Speaker slammed his clawed hand on the table. His golden eyes glared across the circle of delegates. These humans, they should have been erased. How can one world challenge the Council? No one answered. Because deep inside, they all knew the truth. Humanity had survived the impossible. And worse, they were winning. Cracks in the Empire across the galaxy. Soldiers whispered in the shadows. Council propaganda called humans savages, unstable, dangerous. But rumors told another story. They said human fleets spared civilians. They said human weapons targeted only soldiers. only command centers. They said humans fought not as monsters, but as warriors with honor. Alien officers began asking dangerous questions. Why do we fight them? Why are we destroying a people who only want to live? In the colonies, protests rose. Some worlds refused to send more troops. Merchants secretly traded with human raiders. The grip of the Council, once iron, began to slip. And everywhere, the same fear spread. If humans could strike the Council, then no world was safe. The Council's debate inside the chamber, the Council argued. One delegate, a tall reptilian from the Torvan system, hissed, "We must strike Earth again. Burn what is left. Make them bow." Another, a small insectoid with trembling wings, whispered, "We tried that. And yet here they stand, stronger than before. Perhaps we should listen." The chamber erupted in shouts. Voices clashed, languages twisted together, fear echoing through the hall. For the first time in centuries, the Council could not agree. The Grand Speaker's voice cut through the noise. "Enough! If we do not crush them, we lose everything. Humanity is not just a threat. Humanity is a fire, and fire spreads." His words chilled them, because they all felt it. The fire was already spreading, the human shadow. Meanwhile, in the far reaches of space, humanity moved like ghosts. General Kane's fleet didn't hold territory. They didn't build empires. They struck and vanished like storms across the stars. One night a council armory would burn. The next, a convoy would disappear. And always those same words were left behind. "We don't forgive. We don't forget." Alien commanders grew paranoid. They doubled their guards. They armed their civilians. But the humans always found a way through. It was not just war. It was humiliation. Fear in the ranks on. The bridge of a council cruiser, Captain Reloth stood trembling. His ship had been assigned to patrol near the rim, human hunting grounds. For days, they saw nothing but stars. The crew relaxed, laughing nervously, pretending the humans were just myths. Then one night, alarms blared. Shadows appeared on the radar, fast, silent, closing in. Reloth shouted, "Shields up! Prepare weapons!" But before he could finish, the lights died. Every console flickered to black. Human code had already taken control. Moments later, the ship's hull shook. The crew scrambled, screaming, but no human fire came. Instead, a single message lit their main screen. "Leave now. This is your only mercy. The humans, let them go." When Reloth returned to Council space, his report spread like wildfire. And soldiers asked themselves, why do humans show mercy when the Council never does? That question grew sharper than any blade. Kane's strategy deep below Earth's ice. Kane walked the war room halls. Maps flickered with enemy fleets, weak points, collapsing trade routes. Commander Alvarez entered, her face tired but her eyes fierce. "They're panicking," she said. "Their soldiers doubt them. Their colonies whisper rebellion. Their people fear us more than they fear their own rulers." Kane nodded. "That's the point," he said. "We don't need to destroy the Council. We just need to make the galaxy see them for what they are." Alvarez tilted her head. "And what are they?" Kane's eyes hardened. "Bullies. And bullies always break when someone fights back." The turning point, the Council tried one last desperate move. They gathered their fleets, hundreds of ships, at the world of Soroth, a fortress planet ringed with guns. They declared it the end of humanity. They promised to wipe Kane's fleet from the stars. But when their armada arrived, humanity wasn't there. Instead, explosions shook the planet's surface. While the Council gathered fleets, human strike teams had already infiltrated the fortress from within. Missile silos turned against their masters. Shields fell. Chaos spread by the time the Council realized. The sky above Soroth burned with their own ships crashing down. The fortress world, their symbol of control, was gone. The Council trembles back in the chamber. Silence fell once more. The Grand Speaker stared at the reports, his hands trembling. Every defense line was cracking. Every fleet was weaker, and humanity was stronger. "This cannot continue," he whispered, his voice barely audible. But the truth was already written in every frightened eye around him. The Council had ruled for centuries through fear. Now that fear belonged to humanity. Whispers of change in the outer colonies. Something new began. Alien leaders quietly sent envoys to the humans. They begged for peace. They offered resources. Some even offered alliance. The Council tried to silence them, but it was too late. The galaxy had seen the truth. The Council was not unbreakable. And Earth had shown them the way to fight back. The final blow-in. The deep of night, Kane stood on his ship's deck, staring at the stars. Alvarez joined him. "They're afraid of us now," she said softly. Kane shook his head. "No," he said. "They're afraid of what we stand for. They're afraid of the idea that even the smallest world can rise against them. That's why this war matters." He looked out at the fleet, black ships waiting in silence. "We don't fight for revenge. We fight so no one else suffers what we did." And with those words, the order was given. The human fleet prepared its next move, not just another strike. The beginning of the end. The Council had awakened a giant. And the giant was only growing stronger. The galaxy was trembling. The Council was breaking. And for the first time in history, the humans were winning. The Galactic Council chamber had never been this quiet. Delegates sat stiff in their seats, their eyes fixed on the center platform. Normally, this hall echoed with arguments, with alien voices rising in countless languages. But tonight, no one dared speak, because tonight they were not waiting for one of their own. They were waiting for a human. The unexpected entrance, the chamber doors hissed open. Rows of alien guards stiffened, their weapons ready. A tall figure stepped into the hall, his boots echoing against the polished floor. It was General Marcus Kane. Not a hologram this time, not a voice from afar. He had come in person. Every delegate felt the weight of his presence. He wore the dark uniform of Earth's Defense Force, scarred with battle, yet pressed with precision. A silver eagle gleamed on his chest. His hair was grey, his face hard as stone, his eyes sharp and unyielding. He walked with slow, steady steps toward the central podium. Around him, alien eyes narrowed, mandibles clicked, wings shivered, tails curled. This was not supposed to happen. The Council had expected threats from afar, but not a man bold enough to stand in the very heart of their empire. And yet here he was, the weight of silence. The Grand Speaker leaned forward, his golden eyes flashing. "General Kane," he said, voice cold but trembling at the edges, "you enter this chamber uninvited. Do you know what this means?" Kane did not answer at once. He let the silence stretch. He wanted them to feel it, to feel the presence of the one species they had underestimated. Finally, he spoke. His voice was calm, but it carried across the vast hall like thunder. "It means humanity does not ask for permission." The chamber erupted in gasps, whispers, and low hisses. The speaker slammed his claw on the table. "You dare insult the Council in its own chamber?" Kane's eyes hardened. "You dared to attack our home." The words struck like a hammer. They echoed through translation devices, through the air itself. "You came to Earth with fire. You burned our cities. You called it law. But what you truly feared was what humanity might become." The delegates shifted uncomfortably. Some looked down, ashamed. Others glared with fury. But none spoke. The evidence. Kane raised his hand. With a flick of his wrist, a small projector on his wrist activated. The chamber filled with images. Alien dreadnoughts descending over Earth's oceans. Council drones bombing human streets. Families running as cities turned to ash. The cries of the innocent filled the chamber, captured in recordings the Council had tried to bury. Kane's voice cut through the horror. "You called this enforcement, but we call it what it is, slaughter." He turned slowly, his eyes locking on the faces of the alien leaders. "And yet, we are still here, the choice." The speaker rose from his seat, fury boiling. "You will leave this chamber at once. Humanity has no seat here. You are outnumbered. You are outgunned. This Council decides the fate of the galaxy, not you." Kane stepped closer to the center, his gaze never wavering. "You think numbers decide wars? You think power comes from fleets? You are wrong." The chamber's walls shook faintly. Outside the station, massive shadows moved among the stars. Earth's fleet. Dozens of black warships surrounded the Council's capital, silent, waiting. Kane's voice grew heavier. Power does not come from fear. Power comes from the will to fight when there is nothing left. And no one in this galaxy has more will than humanity. The speaker faltered. He looked to his guards, then to the delegates. But no one moved. No one spoke. They had all seen the reports. They knew human fleets had crushed council strongholds, that colonies had fallen without warning. They knew the truth. The galaxy's most feared empire was bleeding, and standing before them was the man who had made it happen. The general's words, Kane's tone softened, but the steel in his words remained. Humanity did not want this war. We did not seek to conquer. We only wanted peace, but you left us no choice. You came with fire, and we answered with fire. That is the way of survival. He paused, his gaze sweeping the hall. Now I give you a choice. End this council of tyranny. Step down. Let every world govern itself freely. Or continue this war and face extinction. The words hung heavy in the air. The council breaks. For the first time, the Grand Speaker looked uncertain. His claws tapped nervously on the table. One delegate, a frail insectoid elder, stood and spoke. I vote for peace. The humans are right. We brought this war to them. Another delegate rose. And another. Soon half the chamber stood, voices shaking but firm. The war must end. They fight with honor. They have shown more mercy than we ever did. The speaker shouted over them, but his voice cracked. He was losing control, and Kane knew it. The final warning. Kane stepped back toward the center of the hall. His eyes locked on the speaker one last time. You attacked our home, and you thought it would break us. Instead, it made us stronger. Remember this, humanity does not kneel. Not to you, not to anyone. He turned and began to walk away. His boots echoed in the silence. No guards stopped him. No delegate dared speak. Outside, the human fleet shifted in the stars, their weapons still cold, but ready. And as Kane left the chamber, every leader in that hall felt the same truth settle in their bones. The age of the council was ending, and the age of humanity had begun. The chamber doors closed behind General Marcus Kane, leaving the council in silence. Outside, the shadows of Earth's warships circled the skies, black silhouettes against the stars. Every delegate felt the weight of those ships, the weight of the man who had just stood in their hall and spoken without fear. For the first time in centuries, the council was not in control. The vote of surrender hours passed, but no voices rose in defiance. The Grand Speaker tried to rally them, his golden eyes burning with rage. We cannot yield to a single world, he hissed. If we surrender now, every colony, every species will see us as weak. But his words rang hollow. The insectoid elder who had spoken before now stood again, her wings trembling but her voice firm. No, she said. They already see us as weak. The humans have shown them the truth. They strike only at soldiers. They spare civilians. They fight with honor we have long forgotten. And the galaxy is listening. One by one, voices joined her. We cannot win this war. The humans will not stop. Better to change than to be destroyed. At last, the speaker's voice faltered. His claws tapped nervously against the table. He realized the truth. The council was over. With heavy silence, the vote was cast. By overwhelming majority, the Galactic Council surrendered to humanity. The streets of Virelion, the news spread like lightning. Across the frozen capital world of Virelion Prime, crowds filled the streets, not in protest, in relief. For generations, the Council had ruled with fear, taxing worlds, silencing dissent, crushing rebellion. But now the fear was gone. They looked up at the sky and saw human ships, silent and watchful. They were not bombarding the city. They were not destroying. They were simply waiting, and for the first time, the people felt hope. The human arrival the next day, the human fleet descended. At the head of the procession, the Erebus Prime lowered into orbit, its black hull gleaming in the cold light. Smaller frigates followed, their engines glowing faintly. Like lanterns in the void, from above, it looked less like an army and more like a judgment. On the planet's surface, thousands gathered near the council spire. The tall building of glass and steel stood like a monument to old power. At its gates, Soldiers of countless species lowered their weapons and stepped aside. The humans had arrived. The Speech General Kane walked through the spire's hall, flanked by Earth's officers. His boots echoed against the marble floors as alien leaders bowed their heads, unwilling to meet his gaze. At the center of the chamber, Kane stood before a vast crowd of delegates, soldiers, and citizens. His voice carried not just through the hall, but through every broadcast channel across the galaxy. "We are not conquerors. We did not seek this war. We wanted peace. But when you came to our skies, you gave us no choice. You struck our cities. You burned our home. And we endured." He paused. The silence was heavy, filled only with the faint hum of the translation systems. "You believed fear would break us. Instead, it forged us. You believed your fleets would crush us. Instead, they taught us. You believed humanity would kneel. Instead, we stand here in your hall, unbroken." The crowd shifted. Some aliens wept. Others stood still, caught between fear and awe. Kane's voice grew softer, but stronger still. "We do not come for revenge. We come for change. This council will end. In its place, a new order will rise. One where no world can be silenced. One where no voice is crushed. One where no people suffer as Earth has suffered." His eyes burned as he spoke the final words. "Remember this, you attacked our home, and yet we are here, stronger than before. We will remember. The galaxy will remember. And together, we will never let it happen again." The new order, the chamber erupted in cries, but not of anger. Cheers spread from citizens, from smaller delegates, even from soldiers who once fought under the Council's banner. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy was united, not by fear, but by hope. The Council collapsed that day. In its place, a coalition of worlds was born, led not by the strongest fleet, but by equal voices. Humanity did not rule it. Humanity only guarded it, because Kane's words had been clear. Earth was not a conqueror. Earth was a survivor. The final moment later, Kane stood on the balcony of the spire, overlooking the vast city of Virelion Prime. Commander Alvarez stepped beside him, her voice quiet. "It's over," she said. "We won." Kane shook his head slowly, his eyes on the horizon. "No," he said. "This is not victory. This is responsibility. We carry the weight of what we've lost and what we've built. If we forget that, we'll become no better than the Council." Alvarez nodded. She understood. Humanity had not fought to dominate. Humanity had fought to survive. And survival brought duty. The legacies. The sun rose over Virelion's icy peaks. Earth's fleet lifted into the sky once more. They did not stay to rule. They stayed only long enough to ensure the new coalition could stand on its own. Across the galaxy, monuments were built. Not of Kane, not of ships, but of Earth itself, the world that defied an empire, the people who refused to kneel. And in every language, on every world, the same words were carved into stone. "You attacked our home. We endured. We rose. The reckoning ends. The galaxy would never forget what happened." The Council had fallen. Humanity had risen. And though the scars of war would last for centuries, so too would the memory of the day the galaxy learned a truth it would never again deny. Humanity was not fragile. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was the fire that could never be extinguished, and when provoked, that fire burned brighter than the stars themselves.